Morning. Are you coming in then?
Good morning, and what a show we've got lined up for you today. I'm so excited about today. I'll be joined throughout the morning by food critic, journalist and jazz musician. Jay Rayner will be here. Woo! Nervous? Not a bit. I'm taking a trip to Charente on the Lacey's leg of my food adventures in France. Chef Pip Lacey will be dropping by with a fantastic recipe for deep-fried Brussels sprouts. And don't miss this week's Little Masterclass when I'll be teaching you the ins and outs of cooking eggs. And to top that off, in the kitchen here, I'm with a chef who smashes it every time with his recipes. He comes on the show. It's the brilliant Atul Kochhar. Good to have on the show, Chefy.
Good to be back,
as well as ever. I don't know how you do it. How many restaurants have you opened this week?
Oh, 2 only, 1 more to go.
2 only? Just this week?
Just this week.
So what are you going to be cooking for us?
So I brought a very old classic, which is keema aloo, which is world favorite, I would say. And I'm serving it with a lachha paratha.
So you're going to show us how to make it properly then?
I wouldn't know that, but I'll show you how I make it.
Oh, that's properly. It's going to be properly. Right. Time to get cooking. We're kicking things off today with a toffee mousse that I'm serving with a salted caramel popcorn. Now, I said I'm going to enjoy today's show. We're starting off... Yeah, this is amazing. So, salted caramel popcorn. The first thing I do is melt the chocolate for our popcorn bit at the end. All right? So I've just got some dark chocolate. The chocolate is going to get mixed with some of this salted caramel sauce, with the popcorn and everything else. It's all going to get cooked nicely.
Wow.
So with the popcorn itself, we'll just put the pan on here. We'll get that on. Classic with popcorn, you just use a little bit of veg oil. You can do curried popcorn, which is amazing.
It'll be fantastic.
Curried popcorn, could have been. Maybe not with a toffee mousse, maybe, but, you know, could be. But we've got some popcorn over here. I'm just going to pop that in there and just get that just cooking away slowly as well while it's going. There. Next, on with the mousse. The mousse is quite straightforward for this because a lot of it's actually done. We're going to cheat a little bit for you as well. So we've got a junior chef in the kitchen, but I'm going to show you how to cheat and make this mousse. So we actually use this bought-in supermarket custard.
Fantastic.
So you use half of it, and what I'm going to do is just warm up half of it. Now, you can obviously make your own custard, but this is the cheating bit. So the custard we're going to warm up. The gelatine we need to add in here. So I've got some leaf gelatine into cold water just so it dissolves into that. And then running through the rest of the ingredients, we've got double cream, so we've got some whipped in the fridge. We've got egg whites, and I've got this sort of condensed milk, you know, the caramelised condensed milk, the famous caramelised condensed milk. Exactly, the dolce sort of stuff. And we're going to whip all this lot together. So I'm just going to whip up this, and the idea is to sort of bring everything together. So you want to warm up the custard, warm up the chocolate and everything else. The idea is just to get this warm to enable us to dissolve our gelatine. But what you want to do is not add all the liquid to this. You can see our gelatine's ready now. So if I just put all the custard in, then I've got to wait for it to cool down before I make the mousse. So what you can do is just start to dissolve this in sort of half the custard as you warm it up. And it doesn't take very long. And then when we add the other bit of the custard, then it'll naturally start to cool down this liquid. So it happens quite quickly. This custard is now, see, it's now hot. That's dissolved our gelatine. I'll switch this off. Shan't make too much noise.
Noisy machine.
Yeah, noisy machine, I know, exactly. So we'll just take a little bit of that. And then what I'm going to do is add the rest of the custard. So this will instantly cool it all down. Now, the reason for this, the reason why I'm doing this, is I'm actually going to do this with a salted caramel popcorn. And you see, the great thing about doing this job as chefs, you know, we think we know a lot of things in life. You know,
well, we hope
you've
so.
got a little, you know, to be fair, do you know what I mean? You think you know a lot about food, but then all of a sudden a curveball comes in. And this morning the curveball came in via the crew here. They've done an amazing job on this one because I was up in Scotland about 48 hours ago working, and I didn't even know that this place even existed. And I think it's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in all my life as a chef.
Right.
And it just happens to be about 2 minutes away where I was, and I never even knew it was there. So we're about to go, by the power of the internet, you're going to love this. Meanwhile, the popcorn's popping away. You're going to love this. We're going over to Ayr in Scotland to speak to a master salt maker, Gregory Marshall from the Blackthorn Salt Company. You're never going to see anything like it. Just check this out. Gregory, great to see you there. First of all, tell us where you are, what this thing is that you've built.
Yeah, so I'm standing in the middle of our graduation tower, which is it's a tower that's 8 meters high, 25 meters long, and it's stacked full of blackthorn. I don't know if you can see in the background. And what we're trying to do is basically evaporate water. And so we trickle the seawater down the blackthorn, which ultimately increases the surface area of the water that's exposed to the air. So it increases the evaporation. It's kind of like if you do your washing, you don't take it out and stick it on a ball on top of the wall. You stretch it out as much as possible to get as much evaporation as possible. So we use blackthorn to, I suppose, spread the water out as much as possible. And you can see these large storms.
So where does this idea come from? Because looking at you, you're sort of a cross between Willy Wonka and Noah's Ark. Where does this idea come from? Where did it originate? Where did you see it?
So originally I came across something that they do in Japan, which is where they trickle it down bamboo. And then I came across in Poland and in Germany. They used to do this. They used to have, but sadly they stopped doing that about 70 years ago. So they still have some of the structures up, but they're not making salt anymore.
Now the thing itself, I mean, it benefits from you in your previous job as well, really, because you used to be an architect.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, so it sort of combines my two loves, I suppose, salt and architecture. You kind of get this mixed together, but it was quite tricky trying to build it or get someone who was willing to build it, because no one's done it before over here, and trying to find a builder who was willing to get some of his mates. We basically found this guy and 5 of his mates turned up and built it for us. So it was a long process. It took sort of about 3 or 4 years to get the final salt at the end. So it took us a bit of time, but we got there in the end to some crazy structure.
So 3 to 4 years to finally get there. Is it, I mean, explain to us how it works and where you are geographically wise, because this is unbelievable.
So it's, we're in Ayrshire and we're bang on the coast. And so we take the seawater in, and so seawater is about 3.5%, and we're trying to concentrate it up to about 22%. And so we keep on pumping it up and down the tower until we get to full concentration. So we evaporate 90% of the water by taking it up and down the tower, and then the last part we then take into a pan for the sort of final bits where we form the crystals at the end. So that's where we get the nice flakes that we're looking for, and that took quite a long time as well, just to get the crystals that we actually wanted.
Well, Gregory, I wish you best of luck with this. I just think I thought I knew a bit about food in this country because I've travelled all over in this country. I've never seen anything like this. This is probably one of the most amazing things in terms of food I've seen in this country. So I wish you all the very best with it. And like I said, if next time I'm in Scotland, I'll come and visit.
No, well, please come and see us. It'll be great to have you up here, and thank you very much for having me on.
Especially, thank you very much. Good to see you.
Good luck, Gregory.
Yes. Thanks
Take care,
a lot,
buddy.
Atul.
Take care.
Thank you.
See, how amazing is that?
Beautiful.
How amazing is that? So I'm just going to take some of this now. I wanted to see that and not come on to this. It's still on the line. Keep on the line as well, if you can do, Gregory. So what we're going to do is going to make this lovely little mousse. This is the custard. This is the caramelized condensed milk.
Condensed milk.
We've got some softly whipped cream.
Wow.
In here. There we go. So if you're on a bit of a health kick, then you may want to
have a fruit.
Turn away at this point, but this is amazing. So you start off with this mousse, and then what we do is we take the egg white in here. So you've got the egg white in as well. Just makes it a little bit lighter. So whipped egg white, and we fold that through. And when you fold it through with a whisk. It's so much faster than trying to do it with a spatula. So much cleaner and easier. And then once we get to that stage, you can take a little dish like that, and we can pour this into our little dish. Now, I know what you're thinking. What happens if I've got 2 people coming around for dinner? Just preempting the question. Make 2.
Make 2, yeah, absolutely. As easy as that.
Exactly. But then you're probably wondering where the salt comes in. Well, the salt comes in this. So I've got my popcorn here, which we've got.
Wow.
So we've got a nice little popcorn.
Looks amazing.
Then this is where we can sort of bring all this lot together. So we've got our lovely little popcorn. I love how Gregory's still watching this as well. So like that.
Come on, I'm salivating now.
No, the best is yet to come, yeah? Because you take the popcorn, we'll scoop this out.
Wow.
See, Gregory's still watching this. He's going, what on earth is he doing with my salt? But the salt, it's on its way, Gregory. You can have this recipe as well, look. But, exactly, bit of this. So this is your popcorn. And then you take this over the top.
Wow.
And while it's still warm, we take all this mixture.
Smells
take
amazing.
some of his salt. And this goes in as well.
Here we go.
And this starts to stick everything together to the popcorn. So we're rolling this around.
Beautiful flavors.
But we ain't seen nothing yet.
Chocolate.
You ain't seen
caramel,
nothing yet.
Salt.
This is. Look at this. Then you get your hands in.
Oh God. Woohoo. So you're not eating today, eh?
This is for you.
All for me, eh?
This is for you, chef. But bit of that. So there you have it. You can have a little bit of that. I'll let you taste a little bit of that. Grab a little bit. There you go, chef.
Thank you, sir.
A little bit of that over it as well. But there you have it. Gregory, I hope you're happy with that. I was trying to do something to replicate the structure that you've got in Scotland, but I'm not an architect, but it'll do, will it?
Yeah, no, that looks amazing. I'm just sorry I'm up here. I'd rather be down there eating that, I think.
Well, funny enough, Gregory, I did say I've actually got another one here.
So come soon.
Next time I'm driving past, I will pop in and I'll bring some. But thank you for being a part of this. I think it's amazing what you're doing, and keep it up. Amazing. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Yes, bye.
So there you have it, a caramelised sort of popcorn mousse with sort of blackthorn salt popcorn chocolate thing. There we go.
Amazing.
Done.
Beautiful.
Atul? Starter?
Oh, fantastic. What a hospitality.
Main course. And you're not moving until you eat the lot. Go on. That's the mousse. It's amazing how simple that mousse is. Just really easy.
It's Moorish. Moorish. It's really, really good, James.
Malted
Amazing.
custard. It's just so simple.
Yeah, excellent, honestly.
I like that. It's fantastic. Oh, it's delicious. Right, still to come, we've got dishes from Atul and Chef Pip Lacey. And I'll be serving up beef cheeks for food critic and MasterChef star Jay Rayner. But don't go anywhere, because after the break, Atul and I are going to try and answer some of your culinary questions. I'll see you in a minute. Welcome back. It's like I'm in a sauna, isn't it, through there? Anyway, look at that. Look at that. Right, I'll be giving you a masterclass in eggs a little while later, and I'll be joined in the house by food writer Jay Rayner very shortly. But first, I'm here in the kitchen with the chef Atul Kochhar. We're going to try and answer some of your food-related cookery questions. Now, we should be joined on the line by Laura. Are you there, Laura? I can see you.
I am. Morning, James.
So what's your question for us?
Well, during lockdown, there was a particularly delicious recipe on this programme, which was honey roasted nduja chicken.
Yeah.
So I bought all this nduja, and I can put it in things, but I can't make it really sing apart from in that chicken. What else can I do with it?
Okay, well, nduja, first of all, if you missed it, what it is really, it's come from Calabria. And it's an amazing sausage. It's a spicy sausage. And what it is a soft sausage. So you can actually eat it straight away like that. You actually don't need to cook it. Traditionally, it would be just put on some toast. Now, I'll just put a little bit of bread on here, but it would be spread on a little bit of toast. However, I'm going to do a little simple pasta dish that you could easily make as well for this one. So running through the ingredients, we've got some of this amazing nduja. We've got some olives, tinned tomatoes, a few bits you can use green or and a little bit of spinach. It's entirely up to you, a bit of parmesan. But very, very quickly, show you how to bring it all together. But proper extra virgin olive oil, we're going to pop in. Now, you'll have known this, Laura, when you've been cooking with nduja, is that when you cook with it, you get this amazing oil from it. You know that lovely colour that it turns the oil? goes incredible. But you just take a little bit of this Nduja sausage like that. We pop it into our pan. But it also stains your fingers. Now, I don't suppose you cook with this, do you, Atul, in your place? But you must use it at home in bits and pieces.
I love cooking with Nduja, and exactly the way you're doing it, James. But I also sometimes marinate either chicken or fish and just quickly finish it in the oven.
Yeah, I mean,
chicken takes longer.
It is absolutely fantastic. It's one of these things that, you know, Laura, you'll know because you've got some. It makes the most amazing flavour and amazing sauce. So you can just pop it straight into the pan. I've got some tinned tomatoes over here, and we just pop the tomatoes in. And you can just crush the tomatoes with it, like that. And you're almost nearly there, to be honest with you. You take some olives. It's up to you which type of olives. Got some black pitted olives over here. Grab yourself some spinach. All starts to come together. And stereotypically, like any sort of pasta dish, you get your pasta. I've got some nice little bit of spaghetti over here. We can add this to the pan. And we finish off the cooking of it. That's the crucial bit in the pan. So while it's in there, plenty of boiling salted water in here. We can then season this up with some black pepper, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper over the top. You following this? Can you see this all right? Good.
Looks
She's nodding.
lovely.
I can see it. And then all you do with this...
She's nodding vehemently.
Yeah, exactly. And you just pour this. You won't believe how quick this dish is. Look. You pour it over the top. And you get this amazing, spicy sort of flavour with Nduja. And then all you need is some Parmesan. Just grated over the top.
Easier than getting a takeaway.
I mean, how quick was that? I mean, the pasta was cooking, obviously, but you get the fresh pasta, it's so fast. You can do a little drizzle of olive oil, but with pasta, it's incredible, Laura. That's the thing we want to do with that. But traditionally, it would be just served. Like I've got some bread over here. We just take a little bit of the bread, and you would take this Nduja and you just spread it over the top of just some bread, usually eaten with sort of some really ripe cheese. So have it on toast, like that, or you've got a simple little pasta dish. You happy with that?
Beautiful. You'll be sending that on, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm sending it on. Exactly.
I thought that was the deal.
That was the deal. But there you have it. But thank you for watching the show. Hopefully that helps. And good luck with it.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And hopefully on the line now we've got Joshua. How are you doing, Joshua?
I'm fine, thank you, James. Good morning.
How can I help you? Because Atul's here as well. How can we help you?
Morning.
Morning, Joshua.
So my
How are you?
question for you, I'm fine, thank you. My question for you two is, I need a quick and easy recipe for cooking duck breast.
Duck breasts. Well, I'm going to do my version of a quick and easy recipe. So what I do, first of all, is I start off with a little bit of oil. Now, this is just a little bit of veg oil in the pan. And we season the duck breast. So salt all the way around and just pop the duck breast in the pan, skin side down. Now, this is on a sort of medium heat, I suppose, this. You don't have it too hot, but you don't want it too low. So medium heat. And then we gradually cook it the skin side down. That's the most important bit because you want the skin nice and crispy. Now, I'm going to do a classic sauce which I love with duck, which is called bigara. It's like duck à l'orange. You know, you must have had duck à l'orange. It's amazing, but sometimes it can be quite thick. It can be quite not very nice. I think this is one of my favourite duck dishes. Starts off with some orange, and what you can do with this is you can take some orange peel like that. You can use a little bit of rind. Just keep my eye on the duck there. There we go. Just turn that over. Not quite there yet. The temptation with this is the minute you see it sort of bubbling away, you then sort of panic a little bit. Leave it on the stove and it'll crisp up. So what you want with the orange rind is you take the orange rind and julienne it nice and thin, like this. So then we want a little bit more orange. We can take a few segments out of this as well. So the duck is now cooking away nicely. You can see that as I lift it over. Look at that. Lovely. Got a lovely colour to the duck. You've got on there. Got that. And then you can top it with a bit of honey. alternatively, really hot oven. Goes in the oven now. It wants to go in the oven for about 6 to 8 minutes. So pop it in really hot oven, 220 degrees, and then we end up with what we've got on here, this duck that's allowed to rest, all right? So the duck is nice and coloured like this. We've got the fat in the pan. We want to drain the fat. Keep a little bit in there, but all this in here is what chefs call gubbins, all right? You following that all right?
Yeah, that looks amazing.
All in this pan. Now what we do is we're going to make our sauce with this. So we take a little bit of brandy. You can use brandy, cognac, armagnac, whatever you want. But just a touch of this goes in here. Now, you can flame it if you want. The key to that is just get rid of the alcohol from it. So get that nice and hot. And this will start now to come down into a sauce. So you pop that in. If you did want to use this, a little bit of port would work, a little bit of Madeira.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to take some stock. This is the stock that you buy from the supermarket. You won't get duck stock. You'll get chicken stock or veal stock. But either of those will do. This goes in here, straight in our pan. And instantly this will start to come together to make a sauce, all right? In there. Now we're going to add our orange. Zest goes in, because that's going to take the longest bit to actually cook. And then I'm going to segment the oranges, and this is going in there. So while this is in there, Atta's going to give us some amazing Indian variants with cooking duck breast. Off you go, chef.
Hi, Joshua. I like to do it 2 ways. One, exactly the way James had pan-fried the duck breast and finished it. I like to marinate it in a spice called Chettiar spice, which is it's a kind of garam masala, but we have got black pepper, cinnamon, black cardamom, and there is a fungus we call it stone fungus, or dagar fool we call it. So we make a garam masala of it, and then I marinate it. And then after pan-frying it, then I pat the spices on the duck and finish it in the oven. And I would go and make the sauce. I make a coconut-based sauce with that. So I would start with shallots, garlic, salt, pepper, same spices again, add a dash of honey, and I would make it with a chicken stock, or I use chicken curry, to be honest. And then reduce that sauce really well, and then bring the duck breast into the sauce, slice it and serve it. So that's how I do it.
So that's how you do it. You just need to find yourself some stone fungus now.
But don't get bogged down with stone fungus. You can use this normal.
I guarantee you, if you Google that, it doesn't come up with what he's on about. I know that for a fact. But anyway, don't start ordering that from the internet. Anyway, look, we've got a nice little bit of sauce here. Joshua, so this is reducing down. Yeah. Now, what you want to do with duck is you want to peak on it. So you want to spice it up a bit. And you get that from sherry vinegar. Sherry vinegar in sauces with duck is amazing. So a bit of sherry vinegar in this. But you can use this for stews and stuff like that. This is, if you get really good quality sherry vinegar, have this like balsamic vinegar mixed together with extra virgin olive oil. This tastes amazing. Really good quality sherry vinegar. So to finish off the sauce, little knob of butter. So we're going to take a little knob of butter into this, and then this will bring together the sauce with the orange and everything else as it starts to all to come together like that. And then all we've got to do is then plate this. We can then take our nice little sauce, which is cooking away nicely. We can take our duck, which when it comes out of the oven, I just drizzle a bit of honey on it. If you put the honey on it too early and the oven's hot, it just burns. So just put a little bit on it as it comes out of the oven. But above all else, rest the duck as well. And when you slice it, you get this amazing colour, texture. But above all else, when you rest it, it doesn't bleed. The juices don't come all out of it. So that's the most important bit, really. And then you've got this lovely little sauce. I love this.
That's an amazing sauce.
I just think it's just delicious. Obviously, duck à l'orange is amazing, but I just think it's so simple, and you get this lovely little kick with the sherry vinegar in there as well. Turn that off. And then, of course, you got the beautiful duck breasts, which just go over the top.
It looks amazing. I'm lost for words.
How's that for you?
That looks absolutely amazing.
Well, I mean, so quick, isn't it, really? So as soon as it goes in the oven, set the timer. That's had 6 minutes in that oven, 220 degrees, so nice hot oven. Get a bit of colour on it, in there, salt and pepper, done. And then leave it to rest, and you end up with a beautiful bit of duck, but the sauce is the key to it. And grab yourself some of that sherry vinegar, all right? Good luck with that, and good luck finding these ingredients as opposed to mine.
Good luck.
Cheers, Val. Thank you
you.
very much. Thanks for watching.
Oh,
There you go. Right, if you've got any questions or anything to do with food, then do drop us a line to one of the addresses on the screens right now. We'll try to answer them on the future shows. Still to come, I'll be giving you a masterclass in eggs, and Atul and Chef Pip Lacey will be working their magic in the kitchen very shortly, but don't go anywhere, because after the break, I'll be treating my guest, Jay Rayner, to 12-hour braised beef cheeks.
Oh,
wait till you see this one. See you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, coming up, my food adventures will be taking me to the stunning town of Charente. And I've got a masterclass in eggs coming your way a little bit later. But first, I'm rolling my sleeves up because I'm here with a journalist and food critic who struck fear in the hearts of many chefs in his career. It's the fabulous Jay Rayner.
Delight to be here.
Good to see you as well. Welcome to the house, pal. How
Well,
are you?
thank you for having me.
Well, it's
I'm
more
very
than
happy to
welcome.
be here. There's great ingredients laid out in front of me, and you're cooking them. So
Well,
I've got a glass of wine. It's all fine, isn't it?
And you're just going to talk about yourself for the
I'm
next
just going
10
to talk
minutes.
about myself, which is a subject I am well versed in.
Is that all right? So I thought, right, what am I going to cook for Jay Rayner? I thought, you've actually kind of reviewed a few of my restaurants over the years and was very kind. So one of the dishes that I remember that you did love was this beef cheek dish.
It was a complicated moment, actually, because I was in Malton for the food festival there, and I was staying in the hotel.
Yeah.
I was being comped, because that's what happens when you do a food festival, you're being comped.
Yeah.
And I suddenly realised the restaurant's yours, you're doing the food.
Yeah.
And normally I wouldn't review the food in a restaurant where I'm being comped.
Yeah.
Because that's not how a restaurant critic works. We turn up anonymously. Well, not I can't really be.
Can't really do that anymore.
Yeah, but I book under a pseudonym. They don't know I'm coming, but everybody knows.
Yeah.
And eventually, when I wrote the review, I said, look, I could either not tell you about this really lovely beef cheek dish I had, because that wouldn't be the correct thing to do, or I can tell you I didn't pay for it. They knew I was there, but it's really good.
So
Don't muck it up.
So I'm not going to muck it up. And like you said, even now, it's too late now anyway, because I did it yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Everything's happened.
So that's the key to it, is everything needs to be done beforehand. So we've got beautiful beef cheeks over here. Now, we use these sort of Wagyu beef cheeks. Wagyu beef cheeks has got a little bit of a name and a reputation for it, a bit trendy, but the beef cheeks that we get are from Pocklington. That's the reason, which is just down the road from Malton.
Sure.
So that's the reason why we have it on the menu. And they were actually cheap. They were a byproduct from the supermarket.
Yeah, because nobody wants them.
Nobody wants it. You can't turn them into burgers. They're amazing cuts of meat as well. And what you want to do, first of all, is get the pan on with a little bit of butter and start colouring these to brown them all off. So this is the first initial stage of doing this braised beef cheek, but it is really, really worth it. But while I'm doing this, we're going to chat to you about your career, because it's quite a fascinating career, yours, because food was heavily involved in your life growing up as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm part of a noisy, secular, northwest London Jewish family. We communicated over the dinner table.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's sort of wondering, we weren't kosher, we didn't follow any dietary laws, so there was, a lot of bacon sandwiches, but
Yeah.
a lot of sort of noisy Jewishness, and dinner was where all the conversations took place.
And talk, which is exactly what we should be doing now over the dining room table.
Yeah.
Talk then leads to your love of writing as well. Because
Well, yeah,
Was it always you wanted to be a journalist?
No, until about the age of 14 or 15, I thought I was going to be an actor, until I realised that just being able to remember the words and an ability to show off was not the same as being able to act.
Right.
And that was the point at which I started to think about journalism. My late mother, Claire, was a journalist. A lot of newspapers came into the house every day, and I became fascinated by what I was reading every day.
Right.
And thinking, well, to write this stuff, you have to see it. That's the job of a journalist, to report.
Yeah.
At about the age of 14 or 15, I settled on being a reporter, being a journalist.
From that age?
Oh, yeah. I chose the university I went to because it had the biggest student newspaper in the country. You had to be elected to be the editor, which I thought might be a way of dealing with people who might think I got where I was through having a mother who was a journalist.
Yeah.
Didn't really help, it has to be said, but there you go.
But you've been amazing with words over the years, but you put that down to, the key to write this, by the way, is 14 hours ago,
Yeah.
is getting some colour on the meat. There's no gravy browning, none of that sort of stuff in this sort of stuff. And yeah, no shortcuts with it. It's slow cooking. Take a little bit, but you see the ale of this beer is dark and rich. Then we take a little bit of that, we grab our aromats, they go all in. But keep them sort of chunky as well, which is what with this. You don't want to dice everything too small, otherwise it just goes down to this puree. That'll happen anyway with decent-sized piece of veg.
Is it right that this is one of those dishes that lends itself to catering to a lot of people because you can do it in big volume as well?
Funny, I actually did this dish 3 days ago up in Scotland, and not the you were coming. It was the fact that the customers wanted something rich, something cooked over a long period of time, and you can do sort of lamb stew and that kind of stuff. But beef cheeks are amazing, like this. So you take this with the beer all over the top, and then pop the lid on it, and you pop that in here, and we gently cook it. Now, what I've done with this is I've cooked it, I've taken it out, I've strained the liquor and put it back in, and then cooked it again for another 2 hours. But look. The whole idea of this, you should just press it, and this just eats with a spoon. You just compress it.
It's like seeing an old friend.
Is it? that's your little beef cheeks that we're going to put on there. I'm going to serve that in a second with the risotto and everything else. But like I was saying, you say in your career, really, we want to talk about the bit before you were a food writer. You have to be a good writer to be a
lot of people.
critic.
Yeah, people email me all the time and say, "I like food. I'd like your job." And I think, well, I'm sure you would. And the line I always say is, it's a writing job, not an eating job. I mean, you only need to look at me to know that I like my food.
Yeah.
I always have. That's nothing to do with being a restaurant critic. I often say, I do the eating for free. It's the writing I get paid for. Your job is, and this makes a lot of restaurateurs and chefs very cross when I say this, my job is to sell newspapers or the digital equivalent thereof. So you have to write in as entertaining a way as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And that's really what my job is.
This is your new book as well, Chewing the Fat.
It's a little one.
Well,
it's a baby. And that was my lockdown project, actually.
So tell us about this one then, because it gives you
All right.
there's some great. You start off with different. What's the ethos of it?
All right. So this is a collection of my columns from the Observer Food Monthly, which is our monthly food magazine. And it was during the first lockdown when I realised I could no longer write about restaurants, but I could write about what it was like to be in them, that I went back and started looking at those columns and realised, I think they hang together and tell a story in themselves.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that, being a writer is a very arrogant thing. You're saying what I have to say is important. And there's probably another layer to that saying, here's some stuff I wrote earlier and it's still really important.
But how do you find that with nowadays? Because nowadays, and I do follow you on social media as well.
Oh, yeah.
What I love about it is you're the sort of the James Blunt of the food world in terms of, you're quite,
Well,
you're sharp.
You have to put that in context. People have to follow James Blunt to see how he deals with...
Do you know what I mean?
Well, I can get a bit fists up. It's true. But if you're going to do it, you need to pick your targets. Punch up, do not punch down. That's the bottom. And that's also always my line when it comes to restaurants. If you go to a small mum and pop restaurant and it's not very good, there's no point giving it a bad review. But if it's one of those very grand restaurants where they're charging £30 a main course and £20 a starter, and they reckon themselves, and they spent $500,000 on the decor, and you feel like you're being fleeced, and there's a lot of corporate money in there,
you're going to have
and
a go.
It's awful,
Yeah.
I'm going to say so.
Yeah. So out of all the places you've been to, I mean, do you have... You also have personal favourites, don't you? But you love the street foodie sort of stuff.
Well,
you love that as much as...
Yeah, when people ask me, they say, what's your favourite restaurant? I say, well, it's very hard because it's defined by mood and what you were looking for at the time. So I often reference places like, there's a little place on the Essex coast, Mersey Island, called the Company Shed. It's a shack, pretty much.
Right.
A queue builds up, you can't book it. I used to joke that you had to bring your own chair, but, they'd give you kitchen roll, but crabs and oysters and lobsters, just the oysters would come out the filtration tanks at the back because it's the Mersey oysters.
Yeah.
Glorious. There's another one up in Oban in the west coast of Scotland, the Seafood Shack, where they do crab sandwiches as thick as one of those bonkbuster, airport novels.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then, the fancier stuff, there can be moments. I've long been a fan of a place in Cheltenham called Le Champignon Sauvage. I'm sure you know it.
Just amazing, yeah.
Amazing restaurant. One of the first very serious restaurants I went to as a
We're
young
talking
man.
about serious. I was the first time in my old Saturday show. He came on the Saturday show, and it was the first time he'd ever taken a day off service, and he's still open.
David Everett Mathias, the chef, yeah.
A genius cook.
Genius cook. And he should be better known than he is.
Absolutely.
But one of his things, it's a little bit like you here, using those humbler ingredients that others leave behind, because if you put a bit of effort in, you'll get more flavour out of them. I have to say, one of the things this speaks to, one of the columns in there is saying, everybody publishes books saying, quick, easy, fast, express.
This is what I was looking at this, and I was reading about it last night. This word, fast, express, I don't get it with
I mean,
food.
I know sometimes we're busy, and sometimes we just need to cook something so we're ready. But actually, there's a huge pleasure in something that's been in, the oven for anywhere between 6 and 12 hours. Makes your house smell gorgeous. It's the kind of cookery I do a lot of at home.
So look, we've got a nice little sauce with it. And then what we do is just take a little bit of this. This is beer jelly that I set. So we set the beer jelly with a little bit of seaweed powder. And while it's still warm, there we go, a bit over there, it doesn't melt. We put that on there. We just finish this off now, and then just use the oil to split it. See, I'm under pressure when I'm doing this, you see. I haven't done this for a while. Hopefully this is going to be
Is it
still...
my presence, James? It's my presence
Both,
unnerving
Chief.
you.
Both, to be honest with you. But I think, considering I did most of the work before you even got here, before the crew even got here, so there we have it, my braised beef. Hopefully it's as good as it was in 2013, with a wild garlic and parsley risotto, with salsify and braised onions. Done. Bon appetit.
Thank you very much. Hello, old friend. It's only been nearly 9 years.
9 years.
Yeah, since I've had this.
9 years.
What you get out of a cut like that when it's been cooked by someone who knows what they're doing like you is an unctuousness and a depth of flavour.
It's all right, isn't it?
It really is. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Right, we've got a second course of pork chops in store for Jay a little bit later, and I'm on a food adventure to Chiron very shortly. But join me again after the break when my own mate Atul Kochhar will be firing up the stoves. But before you go, I just wanted to show you the pork chops that we've got over here for Jay. Look at these. Look at these pork chops. They say never eat anything that's bigger than your head. Today's an exception. See you after the break. Welcome back. Now, this week's masterclass is all about eggs, and there's plenty more to come from my guest Jay Rayner a little bit later on this morning. But first, there's nowhere else I'd rather be right now than this seat, because in the next 10 minutes, I know that I'm going to be eating another plate of amazing food from one of the best chefs in the business. It's a friend of the show, a mate of mine. You lot love him. Atul Kochhar, everybody. Great to have you back on the show, Chef. Back at the house, another amazing dish, because it smells already amazing. But what are you going to be making for us?
Well, I brought something from the street food of India this time. It's
Okay.
keema aloo. Everyone loves a good keema.
Yeah.
And potato is a classic combination with keema, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I'm giving you a flaky bread lacha paratha to go with it.
Right, so you're breaking that. It's two recipes, really, the bread and the...
Bread, so keema,
Yeah.
and then I'll make a bread as well for you.
Right, fire away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great, so let's go. And I got the whole spices here.
Yeah.
Black cardamom, green cardamom,
Yeah.
bay leaf, cinnamon, black pepper,
Yeah.
and cumin.
Now, you're using rapeseed oil for this as well.
Yeah, you can use either vegetable oil or rapeseed oil. I love rapeseed oil.
Okay.
I think it's got beautiful flavor to give to the food. Chopped onion.
And onions, I'm always amazed how many onions you use.
Indian food long ago, James, was based on vegetarianism. So
Yeah.
we didn't use any meat, bones or stocks.
Yeah.
So we always use onions as our base.
Yeah.
So, we used to make all those light color sauces, the brown color sauce and the red color sauces by cooking different styles of onion. So That's another masterclass for you one day.
Well, I'm getting a masterclass of my own here because when you first started in London, you were one of the first chefs to get a Michelin star.
That's right.
Indian restaurants to get a Michelin star. The first.
I was the first one. Yes, that's absolutely right. In 2001.
This first, but things have happened. So quickly for you. You've moved, you've changed, and you've proved you don't need anything to prove because you've done all that earlier on in your career as well, with new restaurants that you're opening up as well. So you've got new one in Wembley.
So new one in Wembley, which is called Masalchi, close to my heart. It's the street food of India,
right.
And I'm loving it. Loving doing that restaurant. And then in 1 week, I had to open 2 restaurants. One is delayed from last year.
I had to open 2 restaurants.
Well,
yeah.
one is delayed from last year,
Yeah.
called Mathura, which is quite fine dining restaurant.
Yeah.
And then street food one, Masalchi, was always opening in October this year. So we went with that. So I've got the onions brown, so the perfect stage for me to add the meat.
Yeah. Now, you're on about the lamb mince wants to be slightly fatty for this.
I would prefer to have a little fatty meat because keema is all about meat and fat coming together. Okay. So if you have a very lean meat, this one I didn't actually specify, so my fault.
Yeah.
Should have been a little bit more fatty.
And would you go for lamb, or is it you can use beef for this? You can do anything.
You can do anything. Beef will be equally good. I would stay with red meat though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's what you need.
So we've got Jay Rayner in the house. How do you feel when food writers come into your restaurant? Because I'm presuming early on in your career, like earlier on in my career, it struck fear into you because the power of the pen was massive back then.
I think still is.
Yeah.
Still is, I would say. Except pen that's gone to the keyboard. But I've always felt that they have an opinion to give, and I respect it.
Yeah.
And I've always learned from it.
Yeah.
Good, bad, ugly. And I've always looked up to them with a lot of respect because most of them are trained palates.
Yeah.
And they talk sense.
That means you're going to get another good review. Right, there you go. We'll keep that in from him.
No, if he was listening, he'll say, you're not getting a good review.
Exactly.
So, James, at that stage, I'm just going to swap the pans, the one I cooked earlier.
So do you have to put water in that as a little...
If it's at this stage, perhaps you don't add water. Don't be in a rush. If it gets too dried up, like mine did, I would add a little bit of water.
Okay. And how long do you cook that for then?
I would cook for another 5-10 minutes.
Okay.
I think meat can be kept a little juicy. The potatoes, which were blanched and then fried, that can go in. A lot of potatoes. I love potatoes in meat. Right. So making lachha paratha. So I use plain flour and the whole wheat flour, equal quantities.
Right.
Pinch of sugar. Pinch of salt. And I also like to use just a little bit of baking powder, just kind of makes the bread a little fluffier.
Right.
Okay, and we have milk, warm milk, lukewarm milk, I would say.
Okay.
And about a tablespoon of oil.
And the lukewarm milk is quite important because that changes the texture of it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's a bit like a hot water crust for a pork pie. It's got to be made with hot water because it changes the texture, doesn't it?
Yeah. So you make this kind of soft dough.
Yeah.
And you leave it to rest for a good 15-20 minutes before you come back to it.
Now, every time you come on, you have amazing stories of India and bits and pieces. This is a street food for everywhere.
This is street food, James. So there is in Old Delhi, there's a street called Parathe Wali Gali. So paratha is bread.
Yeah.
So it's the lane where they make parathas. And there are hundreds of shops. They're all making parathas.
Right.
And you go there and this is one of the parathas they make there. And it's flaky, it's rich, it's steeped in butter and oil, which you and I would love.
Definitely going to go there. Yeah.
And then they give you curries like that to eat with.
Okay.
So it's fantastic. Really, really good. So this is a soft dough, and I'm going to just leave it aside.
Yeah.
Put that aside. And then we have this dough here.
Yeah. Now, we mentioned the restaurant at Wembley, but we didn't mention the restaurant at Heathrow, which is another one in the pipeline. I don't know how you do it, to be honest, but they're all amazing. That's what narks me. They're all, you go there and there's not one that's bad. You just go there and they're all brilliant.
So the one in Heathrow, James, will be called Kanishka Kitchen, named after my first restaurant after leaving Banaras. I opened in Mayfair.
Yeah.
And that restaurant we'll be serving, again, kind of street food, but more easy airport food, so people can take food to...
Big though, isn't it? You've got a lot of seats there.
I think 140, if I'm not wrong.
Right.
That's what I've been told. I haven't counted the chairs yet. So what I'll do, I'll just roll one bread.
Yeah.
I'll make a little larger one for you. So idea is to make it really rich and flaky. So there's a lot of oil you've seen. I've added oil, and there's more oil going in this one later.
Right.
And I'm making it slightly thicker one because there's a hungry crew behind us.
This would be done technically on an open sort of hot plate then,
On a hot plate or a flat griddle.
Right.
Yeah, we call it tawa. Okay, so I'm just rolling it slightly thick so that I can get better spread of oil.
Yeah.
A little bit more. So I've used oil, but they would use ghee. Okay?
Yeah.
And there's no harm in using ghee or butter. And then you add that as well. Spread it nicely because that will become...
Yeah.
What do you call this technique? Making folds like this?
I've got no idea. Pleating.
Pleating, yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking for an English word for it. We call it lacha.
Lacha.
Lacha. That's how the word lacha comes. And then you roll it nicely and then tuck that in.
Yeah.
We have a ready one here, which I made a smaller one.
Yeah.
And once you've made this, easy, add a little bit of more oil on top and let it rest.
Right.
I'll make this one before I go away.
Yeah.
And you be very gentle when you're rolling this because you don't want the pleats to go away.
Right. This is what's amazing. Anybody that hasn't been to India, the street food scene is just...
It's fantastic. It's a theater. I call it. It's a theater going on in front of your eyes, and you should enjoy it. Okay, so here we go.
Yeah.
Now the pan should be hot, not super hot, but hot enough.
Right.
And we go with that, okay? Okay, so meanwhile, while our meat is quite good there,
Yeah.
I got some coriander
Yeah.
and some mint to go in there.
Right.
And we often serve it with a boiled egg or fried egg. This one will serve it with a fried egg, but I wouldn't be cooking fried egg.
Right.
I got you to cook the fried egg for
I
me.
did.
So
Yeah.
well done.
I'm cooking them later on.
Thank you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Good. So that goes in. And this spice, that goes towards the end.
What's that?
I call it keema garam masala. So black pepper, clove, black cardamom, and cinnamon. Four spices.
Okay.
And that go incredibly well with this.
It's interesting that you put some at the beginning of this cooking, some at the end.
Yeah, so I used a bog standard garam masala while cooking it.
Right.
But I want these spices to come up and say, hello, we are here.
Right.
So those are the spices that gone at the end. Okay. Wow, this is looking good.
Happy?
Happy. So let's go with the oil. If Dipti is watching it, she's saying, what are you doing?
This is...
You're giving James way too much fat. That's okay, you don't mind.
Sounds about all right for me. You could deep fry it in butter, it doesn't bother me.
We Indians can't live without our ghee or butter, James.
Yeah.
Our food was kind of cooked in that all the time. Still is. All the festivities,
Yeah.
they're always, if there's no ghee cooked, the food cooked in ghee, then people will think that, okay, these guys were very poor, they couldn't afford ghee. Okay?
Yeah. Look at the fried eggs.
So I like to put the fried egg on top. A little bit of runny yolk would be fantastic.
Yeah.
And here we go. The bread is here.
Asbestos fingers.
So idea is to, just crush it. And that opens up like that.
That looks amazing. It smells amazing. And interesting you do that with the bread at the end of it. Just to open up all the layers. It's lovely.
Here we go, sir.
So give us the name of this dish.
So it's keema aloo with lacha paratha.
I told you it was good. chef. I've got to have a taste of this.
Try it, chef.
Hey, this saves me queuing up to get a table in your restaurants. No. Restaurants, I said. Remember that. So the idea is to eat it with the bread.
To eat with the bread, yeah.
You've got to eat it with the bread. Oh. How do you make food taste like that? How do you make food taste like that? It's not normal.
I think that fresh ginger just comes through in your mouth and it's fresh and crunchy. It adds so much flavor to the lamb and potatoes together.
I've had this in India and it doesn't taste anything like that. The bread, though, I can't believe you just break it all up like that.
But it's just to make it go flaky. And, you know, that's the idea. It's not breaking it, just opening the layers you had.
It's one of the tastiest things I've eaten in a long, long time. It's amazing. Atul Kochhar, everybody. That is so, so good, so good. Right, Chef Pip Lacey will be deep frying Brussels sprouts, and I'll be making pork chops with Vichy carrots for my guest Jay Rayner a little bit later. But after the break, I'm in eastern France serving up sausages in the picturesque region of Charente. I'll see you in a minute. This is unbelievable. Welcome back. Now, we're teaching you the basics of cooking eggs in this week's little masterclass. And I've got a dish of pork in store for my guest, food critic Jay Rayner, very shortly. But first, I thought I'd take a look at some of the dishes you've been cooking at home. And you guys have been so busy. First up, we've got a couple of videos from Ross House, who's made homemade flatbreads in a wood-fired oven. And do you think that looks good? Check out this, a Moroccan shoulder of lamb to go with it. Finished off on the rotisserie. Amazing. Dinner at your place next week then. Brilliant. Next up, Sally Hunt sent us this amazing picture of her 14-year-old son, the brilliant Sam, recreating a masterclass in quiche at home. He didn't have a round pastry tin, but it still looks better than mine, to be honest with you. Well done there, Sam. And finally, Stephen Joyce from Cardiff emailed this photograph of his Yorkshire puddings to say that he wants to come on the show and challenge me to a competition to make the biggest Yorkshire puddings. Stephen, it's fighting talk. I reckon he used baking powder. Cheating. Anyway, do keep sending your pictures and videos coming in. We love seeing what you've been inspired to cook at home. Right, it's time to take a look back at one of my favourite ever food adventures. This week, I'm in Charente, serving up a beautiful dish made with some of the region's local famous produce. Enjoy this one. You see, this is what I love about cooking on location, is that I have a group of people behind that have different ideas, opinions, I like to call it, on what I should be doing next. Now, ideally, what I want to do, to celebrate this amazing bit of brioche, I want to do magret duck or some nice goose. Clearly, we're not allowed to do that because we'll get letters. It'll be all over my face and all that kind of stuff nowadays. So I thought I'll play safe, I'll do a salad. And what better way to do a salad than stuff it full of pork fat from these amazing Toulouse sausages. So the first thing, cut these into sort of decent chunks. You don't want it too small. Into sort of thick pieces really with this one. Touch of oil in here and get this started. So in we go with the sausages. Next, we're going to take these are chicory or endive. Now, so often these are quite bitter, but there is a way of getting rid of that bitterness, particularly in a salad like this, and that's to do this. So all you do is take a knife, cut it, but keep the root on. So what you're doing is just cutting it straight through the middle and cut it into quarters. And then what I'm going to do to get rid of the bitterness is to take some sugar. And for this, use a little bit of caster sugar. Just sprinkle it over the top, like that. Keep your eye on these sausages. You want them to cook quite gently. So you can tell these sausages are good because they're full of meat and fat. You need a decent combination of meat and fat in a sausage. And the Toulouse sausages have got that perfect blend of basically pork, but together with pork fat. And you get that perfect mixture. But just roughly chop them up like this. Doesn't have to be too fancy. And now, at the same time, we can throw in our endive. Now, just when we put these in, we don't want to turn them over because you want them to caramelise a little bit. That's it. Just roll it around in the sugar and just leave those in the pan. We can turn our attention to our dressing. Now, dressing is a simple sort of dressing, really. So we've got some mustard, a little bit of Dijon mustard, And then the vinegar. Obviously, dressing is vinegar and oil, but we use different types of vinegar so often. It's not just balsamic vinegar, that's what the Italians do. Over here, oh no, we use a little bit of white wine vinegar or even sherry vinegar. This is Spanish sherry vinegar, but they produce it over here as well, but it's fabulous. 1 part vinegar to 3 parts oil. But the oil that you use in a classic French dressing isn't olive oil, it's a little bit of veg oil. So just pop that in as well. Now, one of the greatest French chefs of them all, a guy called Pierre Kochhar, taught me this dressing. And he said, whenever you're doing a French dressing, add a little bit of water to it as well. Just a tiny little bit of water. Bit of seasoning, salt and pepper. And a bit of salt. Mix that together. You can see this classic French style dressing. Now I'm just going to season this chicory. Bit of salt. Touch of black pepper, like that. And then get the chicory out first before we toast off the brioche. But you can see what happens with the chicory, Rob. Look, if you get in there, you get all the sugars that I've put on there that caramelise from the chicory as well. But look, now you see this. Tastes amazing, either like this on a salad or brilliant with goose. It's just fantastic. What we're going to do is going to finish off this now. Now this is my kind of salad, a salad that uses the fat from the sausage. So what we do is just mix that together. And now instead of using croutons, it would be rude not to use this amazing brioche. It is fabulous. And all we're going to do with that is just cut it up. It's a different texture to the norm. Now I have to say, I've been a pastry chef for many years. Too many years, to be honest. But and I've tasted some amazing stuff in my life from different chefs from all over the world, but this is the best brioche I've ever tasted. It's a unique taste, a unique texture. It's lovely and creamy. It just looks fabulous. But I'm going to take our sausages while that's toasting and just pop these on as well. And now I'm going to grab some capers, just a few capers in there, a little bit of lemon. Just a touch. Touch of parsley. You almost roughly chop this as well, not need to be too fine. Straight in. Lift off our toasted bits of brioche. You can see that. Decent chunks. See, this is how salad should be. Salad shouldn't be one of those things that you try and hide everything or try and find everything. It's like a treasure hunt to find the crouton at the bottom of the bowl. And you grab this dressing, and this dressing goes in here now. We can switch this off, and we're going to use this warm dressing with everything else, and also all the fat from the pork as well. Look, you've got all the sausage fat. That's the best bit. Throw that in there. A little bit more oil, and then I'm going to pour this dressing over the top. But before I do that, I've got some eggs. I'm just going to cut these. These are sort of soft boil. See, this isn't a fancy salad. It's kind of a sharing salad. You put this in the middle of the table and everybody just helps themselves. But of course you've got this dressing over the top, which is warm as well. But I love food like this. Now, that is a proper plate of grub, a tasty plate of food.
And there you have it, my delicious Toulouse sausage and endive salad with soft-boiled eggs and the Moulin de Vitoy's luscious light brioche. Delightful.
It's an amazing area of France, that, and I can't wait to go back. Right, still to come, Chef Pip Lacey will be making a return appearance to the house, and I'll be chatting and cooking for Jay Rayner in a little while. But join me again after the break, when you'll get a masterclass in eggs. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, Jay Rayner will be tucking into a plate of pork very shortly, and Chef Pip Lacey will be dropping by the house very soon. But first, it's time for this week's little masterclass, and this week's masterclass is all about eggs. We're going to do my version of fried eggs, poached eggs, we're going to do deep-fried soft-boiled eggs, and scrambled eggs. All right. So first of all, what we're going to do is going to do the poached eggs, the classic poached eggs. What you need for this is boiling salted water. So plenty of salt in the water. Get that sort of boiling away nicely, and you need sort of some acidity in there, and vinegar is the good thing for this. Now, I would stay away from things like malt vinegar. White vinegar is the best one for this because it doesn't discolour the water or flavour the water too much. So you want to make sure this is boiling away nicely. And then what we want is really fresh eggs. The best way to tell whether the eggs are fresh is that pop it into a jug of water. If it sinks to the bottom, it's fresh. If it rises to the top, because eggshells are porous, it's got air in it, that means it's an older egg. Alternatively, you can crack it out into a plate, and the whites should be in 2 separate parts to the yolk. There should be 3 parts to an egg. If it all sort of explodes all over the place, it's an older egg. So fresh eggs. Crack the egg into a bowl. Will help you out for that one. And then what we want to do is just drop the egg right into the bubbles. Now, you can whisk it if you want, but just pop the egg straight into the bubbles like that and leave it sat there. As long as the egg is really, really fresh, it'll hold together, which is exactly what we want. So while that's cooking away nicely, we'll turn our attention to it in a minute. I'm just going to get some bread on for all these dishes. So we'll get our bread on here, get this started on there. Meanwhile, while we're doing that, deep-fried soft-boiled eggs. One of my favourite ways to do eggs, really. We've got on here flour, egg, and breadcrumbs. So we'll put the egg on here. So a bit of egg in there. And then, using a fork, we'll just break this all up. This is a fantastic way. If you're doing a dinner party, this is just wonderful. The egg, by the way, in here wants to cook for about a minute or so. Something like that in there. And then we've got breadcrumbs. Now, I'm going to use these panko crumbs, which are sort of drier than the average crumb. And what they do is when you sort of deep fat fry them, they go lovely and crisp, is exactly what we want. So concentrate on my toast a little bit, which is good. Meanwhile, back over the soft-boiled eggs, 6 minutes. So the idea of this is really when you're boiling your eggs, you can use the same acidulated water as this. So salt, a little bit of vinegar, is drop the eggs in with a spoon. So when you're doing this, pop the eggs onto a spoon like that, drop them in the water. That way they don't break. Because so often when you break them, put them in like that, they'll just, as soon as they hit the bottom, they'll break and then the whites come out of it. So drop them, lower them in the spoon, 6 minutes. As soon as 6 minutes comes, iced cold water. Exactly what we're going to do with the poached eggs. In fact, we'll take the poached eggs out right now, actually. So you can put a little bit of paper on the bottom to stop them from breaking, but there you go. As soon as it hits there, it stops it from cooking. It's vitally important when you're doing even boiled eggs, stuff like that. You want to not continue the cooking. So we'll just take our toast off, which is pretty good, all like that. So it just stops the cooking of the poached eggs. Now, the great thing about this is you can leave it in the fridge now, turning my attention back on the eggs. You should just concentrate on one egg thing at the time. And then we've got our poached eggs over here. So to warm them up, you can just drop them in the water, like that. So we can just lower them in the water, like this, and to reheat them, like that. So they'll just sit in there. Now, the great thing about these will sit in the fridge for a good day or two, something like that, in the ice cold water. They'll be fine, absolutely fine. And when you want them, they only take sort of 30 seconds to warm up, like that. We can lift these out, look. There we go. Lift them out. You can see they're already hot and steaming. This is exactly what they want. Because you've concentrated on the cooking side of it, they should, in theory, be all perfect. So when we grab our plate and we take our bit of toast like that, we can get our poached egg. Pop these on, depending on how many eggs you want on your poached egg. Like that. And then, obviously, your money shot, when you're doing it, is you've got your yolk, which is perfectly cooked. Now, you'll get that every single time if you concentrate on the eggs like that. So, in the pan, ice cold water, leave it in the ice cold water and just refresh it like that. That's that one done. Next, deep fried soft-boiled egg. Very, very quick to do. So, like I said, 6 minutes for the egg. Peel them once they've been in ice cold water. Season flour into the egg, and then into the crumb. So we're just going to take flour, egg, crumb. This is a little technique that we call to pane. It's done with, if you're doing Milanese chicken, that kind of stuff, veal Milanese, that breadcrumb sort of dish with a cutlet. It's done with chicken Kiev, that kind of stuff. Nuggets. But to pane is that. And then all we do with this is we bring it to our fryer. You set the fryer quite high, this one, and we just drop the eggs into the deep fat fryer. And these are only going to take probably about 30 seconds, something like that. So we'll just lose everything of this out of the way. Like that. There you go. So just look, I can't resist. Just squeeze another one. Look at that. Nice poached eggs every single time. So in the fryer, they only want sort of 30 seconds, something like that. So they're going in, and then they're coming out. This is a great dish. If you want to sort of experiment with different things, this is wonderful on salads and that kind of thing, because when you're doing this, like this, you can then just serve it with a top cut off. But again, the same. If you take these eggs, you get the lovely soft yolk in the between, you see? Like that. That's runny, liquid, but deep fried. You've got that nice little texture with the crispy crumbs, which are really nice. So that's that one. That's dish number 2 done. Next one. So my version of sort of fried eggs now, buttered fried eggs with chilli. So we take a decent amount of butter, like that. Nice little bit of butter. We get this sort of foaming up. Now with the eggs, a little trick with this one, you shake the egg like this. Just give it a little shake. Now hopefully when you're frying this, the egg yolk should go into the middle of the egg. Says he. This may not work, but it should do. So you break this like that. You just shake them up. And you get the foaming butter like this. So when you get... And I love eggs when you've got a little bit of brown on the outside, but it's just coloured nicely. So in the foaming butter, crack the eggs. Yolk in the middle. Look at that. You just got to repeat it again. Shake. In the middle again. Third time lucky. In the middle again. So it does work. So we get that cooking away nicely. A little bit of this on toast. And while the eggs are frying, just give them a nice little season. Cracked black pepper, fresh cracked black pepper over the egg. Nice little pinch of salt over the top as well. While that's happening, we'll just wait for it. We'll just chop a little bit of our chilli. But green chili's amazing. See, I love it when the eggs catch like it is doing now. A little bit of that. Look. So you just want the eggs to catch a little bit. That foaming butter is what you want. But then, of course, what you need is the butter. Don't waste this. Over the top. A little bit of green chilli. That dish is epic. Also, what's epic, I'm just going to show you very, very quickly how to do scrambled eggs. Proper scrambled eggs. So what you want is 3 to 4 eggs in the bowl. Like that. So, nice fresh eggs. Hot pan on the stove. Black pepper. Need more black pepper in it, it's empty. So, black pepper, salt. Then, double cream. You can use milk. Double cream. Whisk this all up. And then we take a little knob of butter. Pop it in the pan. And then the key to this is, unlike the fried eggs, where you want that sort of brown bit on the egg, this you don't want that. So you want the pan sort of a medium heat, not too hot. So this is unlike fried eggs where we want colour on it. This is completely opposite. We don't want any colour in the pan, so don't brown the butter. It's like cooking an omelette where we don't want any colour on that. So what we're going to do is just take this, as soon as it goes in the pan, don't stop whisking. Keep going. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Keep your eye on it. Now, one thing you don't want to be doing is overcooking this. The French have a wonderful term called baveuse, sort of with a wobble, soft. And that's the perfect consistency for inside an omelette, and none more so than scrambled egg. We're not creating sort of motorway service station scrambled egg. That one, it's fine dining scrambled egg, really nice scrambled egg. You see it starting to thicken up now? As it starts to thicken up, when you get to the texture, almost like porridge, like loose porridge, that is what we want. Look at that, perfect. Perfect. As soon as you get to that stage, take it off. Get yourself another plate. Bit more toast. Your perfect scrambled egg over the top. That's soft, perfectly seasoned. Baveuse. So there we have it. 4 egg dishes. One for each of the crew. Now, if there's anything you'd like to learn about in a masterclass like this, do get in touch. We'll see if we can help out right here on the show. I do enjoy doing these. Time now for a quick break, but join me again in a couple of minutes when Chef Pip Lacey will be back in the kitchen with a recipe for deep-fried Brussels sprout. Sounds good to me. It's good, that. Chicken Kiev and lamb kebabs. How cool was that old menu? Fantastic. Welcome back. Now I'm making a making pork chops with Vichy carrots for food writer and restaurant critic Jay Rayner, very shortly. But first, she's the former head chef at Morano's, who's cooked up a storm on the Great British Menu as well, and has won rave reviews for her restaurant from Jay as well, from Iche. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's brilliant. Pip Lacey. First of all, how many people pronounce your restaurant wrong? Because you spell it hickey.
Yeah, Heiss, Iche, Hickey, whatever you want. Whatever you want, yeah.
OK. Who thought of that?
My business partner.
Right.
Yeah, the Latin scholar that he is. Not, he's a Glaswegian boy and...
Does it mean anything?
Supposedly, it means of the moment.
Right.
But I think loosely in Latin.
Love bite.
Yeah, we'll just go with that.
OK, right, got it then. Right, OK, so where are we going now with that Brussels sprouts then?
So we're going to deep fry Brussels sprouts today. I think it's a love or hate vibe most people think with Brussels sprouts. I don't personally like them that much, but I do like them deep fried, and I quite like Brussels sprout soup.
First for me, OK, Brussels sprouts deep fried. What's going to go with it then?
We're going to do some kohlrabi. We're just going to slice it thin, pickle it in a classic dressing, some hazelnut mayonnaise made with 100% hazelnut paste, which is to die for.
Yeah.
And
so with you, I know you want to get the hazelnuts in the oven, so...
All right, so we do that first.
You might as well do that first, because I know you were contemplating on burning them, so I'll keep an eye on them for you. So.
A mental timer.
Yeah.
There we go.
So what do we do next to the kohlrabi?
So we're going to just peel and chop the kohlrabi.
Right. So people have seen you on the Great British Menu as well.
Yep.
And I mean, the menu, the restaurant that you've been there 3 years?
Yeah, it's coming up to our 3rd birthday. So.
And to open a restaurant is difficult enough. To go through the current climate that we've just gone through, I mean, you've been through the ringer.
Yeah, it was pretty stressful, I'm not going to lie, but I think we've learned how to, I don't know, we hit peak stress levels. So now I've learned how to kind of deal with that a bit more, which is a good outcome.
So tell us about the food that you serve in there, because you've worked in some phenomenal places in London.
Yeah, so we have a big wood-fired grill. We don't do everything on the grill. We pickle a lot of things. We have charcuterie cheese, which we're very proud of. We use a company around the corner for our charcuterie called Cobble Lane, so it's really local, which is nice.
And you say round the corner because you're based in King's Cross, near King's Cross, yeah?
Yeah, and it's literally round the corner, so sometimes they just run it across, which is really nice of them.
The kohlrabi, I've grown this in the garden this year, and I really love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. A lot of people just see it in the supermarket, don't know what the hell to do with it.
Yeah, you can cook it, but the best, I think, is just raw. Just raw and seasoned. And just can eat it like an apple almost.
Yeah. Sputnik plant, they call it. It's got these little sort of fins that come off it as well. But looks amazing when you grow it. Various different colours. Huge leaves off it. It grows sort of purple as well. You can get different sort of colours.
I think it's from the Brussels sprout family as well. So.
Yeah, but more like a radish, wouldn't you say, in sort of flavour? Like the Japanese radish, really. That's the kind of thing.
So cool. We'll just make a little dressing here.
Yeah. So you say this classic dressing, but this is unusual sort of vinegars and bits and pieces that go in this with this.
Well, one of the first things I learned as a chef was this dressing with orange zest and garlic. And I just think it takes the French sort of classic dressing to another level. So.
Right. So what's in it then? Dijon mustard?
Dijon mustard, sherry vinegar and olive oil with garlic and orange zest.
OK. So the olive oil's in the darker bottle, if you want it. Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. Okay, I'll just pour that on the kohlrabi, and it's already got the garlic.
Yeah. Ready?
Ready?
Ready? I feel like I'm a commie chef now. Ready?
Lovely. Yeah, I definitely would have burnt those if you hadn't said. So hazelnut mayo, and I'm going to make this...
Show me this mayonnaise then.
So this mayo today, I'm going to make vegan.
Right.
We have a couple of vegan mayos on in the restaurant, and so the whole dish could be...
Sounds pretty good to me, yeah.
Vegan. Right, so...
There's a lot of people going to be making this Christmas if this works.
Well, when people said, they've come up at Christmas time and said, I want to replicate these Brussels sprouts, what can I do? And I don't really want people frying at home and causing fires in their kitchen, but you can pick up a deep fat fryer now for like 40, 30 quid, so...
Exactly what I told Holly Willoughby, but she didn't listen to me. If she's watching.
Big load of hazelnut paste. This is just amazing stuff.
So that is this hazelnut paste and this hazelnut paste. That's some proper stuff.
Yeah. So instead of egg yolk, we've got mustard, vinegar, the paste in, and then instead of egg yolk, we're going to use the aquafaba and just whisk it all together.
Right. So that's chickpea juice, basically.
Yeah. Aquafaba, Latin. Again, Latin's following me, even though I was useless at it at school.
And I dread to think, how on earth do you think of this idea?
What, hazelnut mayo?
Yeah, where does this... Because, I think this idea... I've never seen anything like it. Where do you think this idea from?
This is my head. Everybody loves a mayonnaise. So I was just thinking, when you saute Brussels sprouts and you have bacon and maybe nuts with it, that kind of was going in that direction, and then
have another drink and go, I'm going to come up with this.
Yeah. So then we're just going to add veg oil as well, and to make a normal mayo. Even like this is a sauce.
Great dressing, yeah.
Is this one?
That's just normal veg oil?
Veg oil, cool.
Yeah. I'm intrigued.
I might need a bit more oil than this, probably.
So does it thicken up like mayonnaise? The more oil you add, the thicker it gets?
Yep, exactly that.
Right.
OK, I need to season it a little bit. So a little bit of salt. And nuts like salt. A little bit more oil. OK, happy with that? Yep. Right, so Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
So literally just deep fried 180, as long as you don't put too much in the fryer.
Yeah.
And we take them so they almost look burnt. Not burnt, but just before.
You're really selling these. You almost look burnt. But they don't take very long in there. It's not going to take very long to cook.
No, and as long as they're still green in the middle.
Yeah.
Yep. And all the outside nicely dark, crispy. They do make a splash, but...
That's why it's important to use a deep fat fryer, not a chip pan. Do not do this with a chip pan. Because they still contain quite a lot of water, and I wouldn't wash them as well. That's the key to it, yeah.
OK, not burnt enough yet. So.
Not burnt enough yet? So you're colouring it to get the bitterness? Is that what you're doing?
But hey, just the crispiness, as long as I said, if it's just green inside, you still have that moistness inside.
Right.
And it still tastes of Brussels sprout. But I think like any cabbage leaf, or which this is a mini cabbage leaf, when it's charred or when it's burnt a little bit, it's with a bit of salt on it, it's a nice flavour.
Cabbage on a barbecue is one of the Hispy cabbage is amazing, but Brussels sprouts deep fried, right?
OK, and we're going to put it...
That is Brussels sprout kitchen paper, especially for you. Yes, it's Brussels sprout kitchen paper.
Amazing.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. Right, so just season them up.
Yeah.
This is very important because without this salt, it's not going to work. Right then.
Right, ready.
OK, so all our Brussels sprouts.
You're not wrong. You do take them till they're almost burnt.
It's a great snack.
I love the idea of this. It's so wacky.
And so the kohlrabi is just, because anything deep fried is pretty heavy, it's just a nice way to cut through that dressing.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
But yeah, people have been going wild for these. So
I tell you what, at Christmas, going to be deep fat fryers from Santa Claus. I tell you. Yeah. Happy with that? So can you tell us the name of this dish then?
Deep fried Brussels sprouts with hazelnut mayonnaise and pickled kohlrabi.
Pip Lacey, everybody. Right, I'm looking forward to this. Have a little taste of this then. So I've never tried anything like this before in my life. Yeah, they're the best Brussels sprouts I've ever tasted.
Are you a fan of Brussels sprouts, though, normally?
Mm.
Yeah?
I was brought up on this stuff. They're amazing. It shouldn't work, but it does work, doesn't it?
I'm not sure the vegan mayo works as well as a normal mayo on this one, but...
Still, I like it. I think they're absolutely fantastic.
The flavour of this paste is just phenomenal. I love it.
This is a revelation. Deep fried sprouts. Everybody's going to be doing it from now on. There you go. Thanks, Pip Lacey, everybody. It's brilliant. Right, we've got time for one more final recipe. So see you after the break as I serve up even more for lunch for Jay Rayner. I'll see you in a minute. This is delicious. Delicious. Welcome back now, sadly, to the last part of the show, but I'm still in the kitchen with my brilliant guest, the fabulous Jay Rayner. Good job. See you're armed as well, red and a white.
Well, I think you made me.
The reputation precedes you. Yeah. There you go. Right, for my final dish, I thought I'd treat Jay to a wonderful little pork chop. We're going to do this with sort of fishy carrots, mashed potato, a nice little cider, and calvados sort of sauce. Starts off with the carrots, first of all, because I'm going to get those on. Carrots cooked in the style of Vichy. Vichy is an amazing place in France, famous for mineral water. But the way that they cook their vegetables is amazing. And they cook it in a combination of water, butter, and sugar, and salt. So you start off with the water in the pan, but when you sort the carrots out, you sort of just cover the carrots, almost not even covered, really, just covered with the carrots. You take a good pinch of sugar, and I mean a good pinch of sugar. Is that?
Pinch?
a decent, well, a couple of teaspoons. You've got big hands. But salt, nice, good pinch of salt. A good knob of butter. We are in France for this bit, so a good knob of butter. And the whole idea of this, as it cooks, the water evaporates. It creates an emulsion. You end up with an emulsion at the end of it. Now, because I'm doing this pork, I'm going to do this with star anise as well. A few bits of star anise in there work amazing. So you rapidly boil this to cook it. Pork chops, I'm going to cook very, very simply. Now, you have a different way of cooking pork chops, don't you? You start them on here and then finish them off in here.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there are a variety of ways. Oh, my.
So what we're going to do with these pork chops, just look at these. So these pork chops have got the belly on it as well. So this is obviously the belly part. We would call this, I mean, where I was from, we're pig farmers, long pork chops we would call this from, but I'm sure the butchers are...
You would have to ask your butcher to do this specifically.
Yeah, kick
and it would have to be a local butcher who brought them in.
He is. There's a butcher's anyway, just down the road from here that will do it. So, you know, you won't get this sort of thing in the supermarket.
No.
But then supermarkets, you don't get good pork. You know.
Some of it's all right. Some of it's all right.
Moving on. Yeah. Right. So we go over here. Beautiful bit of pork. Season it up with some salt all over and some black pepper. Now, the way I cook it, I mean, Jay starts it off in here and finishes it under the grill. I cook it under the grill, but I put the grill quite high, but I bring the tray down. So the tray is halfway down the side. So rather than have it high up, it's just going to overcook it. You want the pork to crisp up while it's cooking. So you can basically just take the pork like that, and I'll lower this down to continue to keep it warm. We take the pork, just pop it under the grill like that, and only turn it over once. Shut the oven door. It takes about 15 minutes to cook it like that. But anyway, back over to you. You're here as well. We're chatting about food, but this amazing new book that you've got out now as well. Tell us about the new book. Those people who are just waking up.
It is a collection of short pieces, 600 words each, which cover the entirety of how we eat and why we eat. It's about memory and sex and relationships and family and the things that annoy me and the things that thrill me.
And talk about the things that annoy you. I've come to page 95 already. Restaurants are terrible at anything that takes time. My roast potatoes are better than every single roast potato I've had in a restaurant.
Yeah.
My Yorkshire pudding is better than every Yorkshire pudding I've had in a restaurant.
I would... I'm sure you're now going to tell me that yours would be...
No, I'm not.
But there are certain things that are domestic dishes that are really, really good. I think that one started with an experience in a Scottish restaurant where they said they were going to serve me a cassoulet, and it was actually an assembly of a bunch of things that could be in a cassoulet, which they brought together.
Right.
Because they didn't want to make a whole cassoulet in case they didn't sell enough of it. Right. So, you know, you've got some white beans over there, you've got a bit of Toulouse sausage.
We talked about you being a restaurant critic. How did you, first of all, how did it come about? Because many people look at restaurant critics and think, that's how you make your money. You don't make your money out of this. This is just, it's part of what you do.
Look, I've been a print journalist for over 30 years. I went out for lunch with the editor of the magazine that I write for, the Observer magazine, and she said, oh, by the way, the restaurant critic is moving on. And I simply put my hand up and said I could do that. I had never for a moment thought it would be a job that I might do.
Right.
Because I was a feature writer. I covered crime, politics, murders. I covered everything.
You were working, I mean, you were
a working reporter.
You were in the Old Bailey all the time and everything else.
All of that. There's still a notebook in my back pocket. Right. And, you know, old habits die very hard. But I suddenly thought, God, I love restaurants. I like my dinner, and I think I could write well about it.
Yeah.
I didn't imagine I'd do it for 22 years. Or longer than that, because you're going to have to prise my cold, dead hands off the job. But, yeah, it came my way. And the thing I discovered was actually food leads into many different places.
Yeah.
Throughout the whole debate around Brexit, for example, I was doing a lot of reporting about the impacts that might have. It's there in my novels. It's obviously there in my non-fiction books. I do a radio show for the BBC, which is a panel show about food.
But you've seen it in, I mean, you were a journalist in the 90s as well. You've seen what foods, I was working in London in the late 80s, early 90s. That trend, that food movement was like, it was a tidal wave.
Yeah, I think becoming a restaurant critic in 1999 was extremely good timing.
Yeah.
You had crowns being handed over, so that was sort of the moment when Marco Pierre White was stepping back from cooking himself, and some bloke called Gordon Ramsay was coming forward. It was about that time that some other geezer called Jamie Oliver came to the fore.
Yeah.
Lots happened around then.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'd call it a restaurant revolution, but certainly things picked up pace.
Good and the bad as well.
Oh,
do you have any really things where you just go? Because I have a thing with sort of deconstruction. Really, I just doesn't mean things like
If you're going to deconstruct something, you better have a really good reason and be really clever. And most of the people who do it aren't.
But do you know what, things like a trifle? No, things like a crumble, for instance.
Yeah.
How many restaurants do you go at? A pie that sits on the top.
Yeah, they made a bit of pastry and they put it on top of a stew. No, that's not a pie.
Yeah.
That's irritating. The trend that drives me nuts, and it drives so many people nuts, I still don't know why it happens, serving food on anything that isn't a plate. Serving your food on a slate or in a witty dog's bowl. Or I once had bread served to me in a Yorkshire restaurant. This will appeal to you, James. In a flat cap.
Oh, come on, it's not.
The bread was in a flat cap.
Was
and
it
the thing is, you look at the flat cap and you think, have they got new flat cap? Or is this a second-hand flat cap?
Well,
whose head has been in my bread
If it's anything
basket?
like my mates who were farmers back then, you really didn't
Just no.
No amount of washing could have got that out, to be honest with you.
I've had rib selections in a mini galvanised dustbin. Bacon hanging from a mini washing line. If you think the only way to make your food look sexy is to hang it from a mini washing line or put it in a trowel, there is something wrong with the food. Put it on a plate.
But like I was saying, you're amazing with words and stuff like that. But you're also you're a phenomenal musician, because I want to talk to you. We didn't talk about earlier about the jazz quartet. I've seen you at these festivals. I mean, this is something that's seriously serious. You take really, really seriously.
I do take it very, very seriously, and you can't do it otherwise. Because if you're going to sell tickets and ask people to come and hear you play, you can't go, look at me, mummy, I can dance. You've got to be able to do it properly.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's fair to say that some people may in the past have come along almost to see if the dog could walk on its back legs.
Yeah.
What, that bloke off MasterChef is going to play jazz?
Yeah.
We've moved beyond that. In fact, we recently announced our 10th anniversary show because the quartet was founded in February 2012. I didn't think it would go on to be a big thing, but it has. We played Ronnie Scott's, we played the festivals.
You say we, because this is you.
It's a quartet.
You play the piano.
I play the piano. We have a great guy called Dave Lewis on sax, Robert Rickenberg on bass, Pat Gordon-Smith is the singer. She's also my wife. It makes it cheaper on the overhead.
Right.
She's a very, very good singer, which
does help.
It does help because people are coming along to see you. And so, we've got this 10th anniversary gig in February coming up, back at the same place in London, King's Place, where we started. And I'm really thrilled about it, actually.
And as well as that, I'm just making a little sauce here. We've got cream, we've got Calvados, we've got some cider, I've got a bit of stock in here. We're going to put a little bit of mustard in there. Meanwhile, I'm going to turn my attention to the pork, but a little bit of grey mustard in there. Mash is done. Carrots, you can see, these are the beautiful glazed Vichy-style carrots, which are beautiful and glazed with all that sort of stuff. They go in there. And then the pork, I'm going to sort of serve all this in sort of different bits and pieces, really. I've got the pork chops that you've got over here, which are cooked, but also I've got a triple whammy. Not a quartet yet. But
not a quartet, but a trio.
A triple whammy of pork, because in this oven as well, before any of the crew even got here, we've got pork belly and pork loin, which I've roasted off.
So this pork, what kind of breed?
This is purebred middleweight, this sort of stuff, which I absolutely adore. But this is your pork belly as well. And then I'm going to serve all this.
You knew I was coming, didn't you?
I knew, I knew you were coming. But look, we've got a Jay Rayner platter. So we're going to put that on here. In fact, we'll put two on, because seeing as it was a quartet, look.
Yeah.
Why not? Bit of that on there
Of
as
course.
well. But then I've got to mention, before we go as well, I've got to mention the podcast as well, because this is a great thing you've been up to, as well as on tour. We've got several things to mention, but tell us about the tour that you've been doing, the theatre tour. This is fantastic.
Well, actually, so I do one-man shows as well, and they're great fun. A lot of them were gigs left over, it has to be said, from the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I picked up all of those, been all over the country with those, which is a lot of fun. And then the podcast, Out to Lunch, I take big names to a great restaurant and interview them. And it's amazing. You'll know this. If you put a good plate of food in front of someone, they'll forget they're being interviewed.
This is why I love doing this job, because people ask me, how do you interview somebody and cook at the same time? You cook without thinking about it, because I'm more interested about what you're saying. But the food, depending on who you're with, what you are, the conversation just keeps...
Yeah,
You'll never get that. If it was a straight interview, they'd be on the guard.
I was a bit suspicious this wouldn't work. We had Richard E. Grant, the great actor. We took him to a lovely Italian restaurant called Sartoria, put up the microphones, and it was clear that within about 5 minutes, he'd forgotten the microphones were there, and the talk just flowed. And we've since then had everybody from Mel C, from the Spice Girls, through Guy Garvey of Elbow, Kathy Burke, the great actress, politicians, big name stars, Jamie Dornan, and they come and we feed them and they talk. And it's, do I say it myself, done rather well.
It is done rather well.
It has done rather well. Long may it continue.
So look, we've got the crackling, because I know you like this bit as well. So we've got the crunchy crackling to go with it. This goes over the top. And I like proper crackling. I don't like that sort of stuff that you get in jars nowadays that you put in the deep fat fryer and get crackling. I mean...
Can you sense that kind of anticipation from the crew who are thinking,
I get it all the
Rayner
time.
can't eat all of this?
I get it all the time, really, to be honest with you. But look, we're just going to take our sauce to go with it, pour this over the top, and there you have it. It's been a pleasure having you at the house. It really has. There we have it. A Jay Rayner pork fest. Done. Jay?
Oh, what?
Don't review it, will you?
This is it.
Yeah, this is it. You just start at one and then work your way through it. But that's good sound. It's a good start.
Yeah. It's all very, very good.
Yeah.
It's almost like you knew I was coming. It's fantastic.
I did know you were coming, actually. Yeah, exactly. But that's it. That's all we've got time for today. A massive thank you to all my guests. Gregory Marshall, Atul Kochhar, Pip Lacey, and, of course, Jay Rayner. We'll see you back here at the same time next Saturday morning. I'll be joined by chefs Peter Lloyd, Pierre Kaufman will be in the house, and the one and only Jack Savaretti will be back here again. Until then, take care, stay safe. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye for now.